Now at 5, Joplin police arrest a suspect in a stabbing at an apartment complex. Plus, we're going to meet a mother who's raising awareness of a common virus that largely impacts infants. And
some of the very buildings that make New York City so iconic could also be bringing it down, literally. I'm Jared Hill with why some scientists say New York City is sinking and why this could be a problem for other communities around the world.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Joplin police arrest a suspect in a stabbing at an apartment complex. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. The stabbing happened at the North Park Apartments on East Newman Road around 8:40 a.m. When officers arrived, they found a man with a stab wound. That man was taken to the hospital and said to be in serious but stable condition. Police say he was stabbed by his fiancée following an argument. She has been arrested, but formal charges have not yet been filed. Let's check in with meteorologist Sam Lane for a first look at the weather.
All right, thank you very much, Dow. Big severe thunderstorm activity going on in western Oklahoma and western parts of Kansas. Tornado watches out and even some tornado warnings. In fact, let's zoom in on this monster of a storm that's now near Lawton, producing a tornado warning there. Fortunately, all of that is going to stay down to the south and west of us tonight. So that's good. The good news. The bad news is we're still in this drought. We've seen some improvement like in Delaware County and also over in Lawrence County, but the drought still hangs on for a large part of our area. In fact, looking at the rainfall here in Joplin for the last 2 years, from January 1 up until now, 57.56 is where we've gotten, but we're supposed to be 67 inches. So we're about 10 inches behind on rainfall. Fortunately, we do have some in the forecast. Temperatures dropping through the 80s into the 60s by tomorrow morning. And looking down the lane, we have some storms for tomorrow morning in northeast Oklahoma. Very warm for your Friday. Severe storms on Saturday, and we'll talk more about that, as well as a summer-like pattern setting up in our forecast in just a bit.
See you soon. June is National Cytomegalovirus, or CMV Awareness Month. According to the CDC, nearly 1 in 3 children are infected with CMV by age 5. The virus can cause hearing loss, vision loss, and lack of motor skills. This happens to be the case for a child in Miami, Oklahoma. The mother is putting on an event this weekend for her daughter who was born with CMV.
They're just like you. They comprehend just like you. They might not be able to speak or communicate with you, but they do in their own way.
The event is open to anyone. It's going to be Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Boys and Girls Club in Miami. Tomorrow is the last day of Camp Quality in Neosho. The week-long event receives kids with cancer for fun activities during the summer. A pool, crafts, and even laser tag were included in the program this year at no cost to the kids and their families. The overnight camp even has a 24-hour medical care. This year, 15 kids ages 4 to 17 participated. Besides being able to disconnect from the outside world at Camp Quality, campers get the feeling that they belong.
Whenever you have cancer, not a lot of kids have it, so then you know you're not the only one who's gone through something like that, and you know you're not alone. You have a lot of people that are actually know what you're going through and stuff.
I felt like I belonged, and it had been a while since I had felt something like that.
Neosho is not the only city hosting a camp for kids with cancer this summer. Around the U.S., more than 15 camps Quality are happening. To learn how you can support them, go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Former President Trump's legal problems have done little to slow his presidential campaign. The Trump campaign reports it raised more than $7 million since news broke of the indictment last week. That includes $2 million from a fundraising event in New Jersey the day he was arraigned. Meanwhile, the Republican field of presidential contenders is growing, with Miami's mayor announcing his candidacy today. Coastal cities all around the world are sinking. It's partially a natural process, but some researchers say humans might be to blame for making the problem worse. That, in turn, could lead to areas becoming more prone to issues like flooding during severe weather events. Reporter Jared Hill has more from New York, where a study looked specifically at how much the nation's largest city is pushing itself down into the sea.
The very buildings that make New York City's skyline so iconic are also making it sink. That's according to a recent study by the U.S. Geological Survey. Scientists look at the Big Apple and its more than 1 million buildings that equal an estimated 1.7 trillion tons.
We found areas where there was greater than the average by a significant amount, so as high as 4.5 millimeters per year of subsidence in certain spots.
Subsidence is the geological term for sinking. Glaciers from the Ice Age are partially to blame, and yeah, so are the buildings. But Tom Parsons, the study's lead author, says it's also about where we're putting that weight.
There's a lot of places where there's been artificial fill placed in New York City to sort of expand the land areas. And so those places where they kind of just dump dirt in there, it hasn't really had a chance to consolidate. Those places seem to be sinking much faster.
Experts say one reason this very slow sinking is such a pressing concern is because the water around New York City is rising more quickly, possibly 8 to 30 inches, according to one study by the 2050s.
This is yet another factor that's leading to increased risk of impact from climate extremes and climate change.
Climate scientists say the data isn't cause for immediate panic, but instead immediate planning.
One of the next steps, focusing specifically on the communities that are disproportionately impacted by climate change.
And New York City isn't alone. A University of Rhode Island study last year looked at 99 coastal cities around the world and found the vast majority are sinking faster than the sea levels are rising. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
Recent UN report estimates by 2050, 2 out of every 3 people worldwide are likely to be living in cities or other urban centers. Some solutions for the sinking the scientists point to include barriers in water to combat rising tides and making sure new buildings are constructed on top of more firm bedrock. Still ahead, paying the listed price.
President Biden wants to eliminate hidden fees for consumers. I'm Skyler Henry in Washington with the administration's plan to help Americans save some cash.
And next in Health Watch, how a simple breath test could help diagnose early stages of cancer. Topping today's Health Watch, researchers say they've created the world's first human synthetic model embryos. The team behind the creation consists of researchers from Caltech in the U.S. and the University of Cambridge in the U.K. They say their embryo-like structures were made from stem cells, bypassing the need for eggs and sperm, but they are at the very earliest stages of human development. That means they do not have a beating heart or brain. Scientists believe this kind of research could one day help them understand genetic diseases or what causes miscarriages. Scientists in England say testing a patient's breath could help reveal a variety of cancers at a very early stage. The first clinical trials on using this method are underway in London. Reporter Tina Krause has that story.
British doctors are busy taking breath samples. Researchers say having patients simply blow into a bag could reveal if they have certain types of cancer, including stomach, pancreatic, and esophageal.
So we have the patient breath samples, which we've prepared.
The technology is similar to a breathalyzer. Metal tubes capture vapor and gases from a patient's breath, and high-tech machines identify links between compounds and cancer.
And that's where we actually measure these potential biomarkers for the cancers that we're interested in.
Scientists at Imperial College London say previous trials on hundreds of patients have shown 90% accuracy. Now they want to see if breath tests can catch the disease early, when patients have better outcomes.
If we wait too much and the patient has an early cancer, then it becomes late cancer by the time the patient have very definitive symptoms.
Doctors say not only can the breath test help pinpoint tumors within minutes, but it could also replace more invasive procedures like endoscopies. Researchers have been perfecting the technology for 15 years and are now recruiting more than 20,000 patients for their final breath test trials, hoping to deploy the devices in doctors' offices within a few years. Tina Krause, CBS News, London.
The new trials will focus on detecting early-stage cancers of the esophagus, pancreas, colon, and liver. Experts say those tumors account for more than 20% of all cancer cases in the world. Researchers at Northwestern Medicine tracked food allergies by population and found the highest allergy levels among Hispanic, Black, and Asian individuals. Food allergies are lowest among households that earn more than $150,000 a year. Doctors say they're still trying to figure out the reason for the disparities, but believe it's likely environmental and not genetic. Healthcare professionals say the numbers help hammer home why it's critical to improve access to diagnosis and to treatment. And that is a look at today's health news. A little later, why Chrysler is recalling hundreds of thousands of Jeep Grand Cherokee models.
We're also tracking some big thunderstorms and tornadoes down in southwest Oklahoma. I'll be back to let you know if we can see anything like that in our area when we come back. Another beautiful but warm day across the 4 states with lots of sunshine, including Seneca, Missouri with the Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. You can see just a few puffy cumulus clouds out there right now, but lots of blue sky. And that allowed the temperatures to warm up into the 80s once again, actually pretty close to normal. In fact, normal for the high, 86. This morning we were 40 or 58, so that was a little bit below normal, but very pleasant. What's not pleasant is that we're still behind on the rainfall, 7 inches so far just this year. But they're getting lots of rain out in western Kansas and southwestern Oklahoma this evening. You can see that on the motion. Lots of severe weather from Dodge City southward into the Panhandle of Oklahoma. And look at this beast of a storm just to the west of Lawton producing tornadoes, confirmed tornadoes on the ground right now in that area. But fortunately, nothing like that in our area right now. We could see some severe weather in our forecast, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, let's enjoy the nice temperatures. Generally in the mid to upper 80s right now, 87 in Stockton, 85 up in Nevada, 84 in Iola. And looking at rain chances, they're going to be low for the most part. We could see some storms in northeastern Oklahoma later on tonight, and also low chances of rain for your Friday. But as we go through the forecast, we're going to see dramatic changes in the rainfall and storm chances, especially Saturday night into Sunday morning. And by the time everything is said and done, we could see over an inch of rain in some of the heavier storms across the area in a wide swath of about half an inch or more. So we definitely need the rainfall. We don't need the severe weather. Unfortunately, the severe weather is going to be down in southwestern Oklahoma tonight, continuing. Some of that could sneak up into our far southern counties like Washington County and Nowata County, but it's going to be close. We're not expecting severe weather in our area until Saturday. That's when things change. Saturday, there's a slight risk of severe weather for most of our area, basically beginning from 7 p.m. until 3 a.m. on Sunday morning. There is a slight risk of tornadoes, elevated risk of large hail, as well as heavy rain, but the biggest threat with a high category is the damaging or high winds. So definitely be keeping an eye on that. Pull your lawn furniture in by the time you go into the evening hours on Saturday, as we're expecting that squall line to move through. So breaking it down for you, here's what we're expecting. Mostly fair skies tonight. Maybe some showers down in Oklahoma as we head towards tomorrow morning from that complex that's down there with lows in the 60s. Then tomorrow afternoon, we'll see isolated storms possible mainly to the east with highs in the mid to upper 80s. Then as we go into Saturday morning, mild with lows in the 60s, upper 60s out towards the west with a little more cloud cover. Then Saturday afternoon, watch this, storms start to develop up towards the north and west with highs in the upper 80s. And then by 9 o'clock, we'll see those storms developing, and then they will be racing to the south and east as we go through the early morning hours on Sunday with lows in the 60s. Over the next 7 days, here's the forecast. Possible alert day for your Saturday. So if you haven't done so already, you need to download the KOAM Storm app. And then on Sunday, 85 for your Father's Day. So most of Father's Day is going to be okay. Dad may be picking up branches and stuff out of the yard, so give him a little bit of a break. And then we start to dry out Monday and Tuesday. And then the extended period, maybe more storms next weekend.
If people could go out there and help Dad pick up those branches.
That's a great idea.
Thanks, Sam. It's the third Thursday of the month, which means downtown Joplin is filling up with vendors and artists. This month's sponsor is You Belong Here, a local equity, diversity, and inclusion organization. This is a live look at the event. It's going to kick off at 5:30 officially and will feature a whole lot of booths from area organizations, businesses, as well as fun activities. It runs until 8:30 tonight. Coming up, the Biden administration reaches a deal with ticket sellers to remove hidden fees when buying tickets. Topping today's Consumer Watch, President Biden says he's making good on his pledge to eliminate hidden fees that cost consumers millions of dollars a year. Executives from major ticketing and event companies joined him for the announcement. Reporter Skylar Henry has that story.
Reaching a tentative agreement.
President Biden says it's time to crack down on those hidden fees that sneak into consumer bills and met with some of the executives promising to join that effort.
Junk fees are not a matter for the wealthy very much, but they're a matter for working folks like the homes I grew up in. And they can add hundreds of dollars a month and make it harder for families to pay their bills. I think it's just wrong.
The meeting at the White House comes 4 months after the president promised action against so-called junk fees during his State of the Union address.
I know how unfair it feels when a company overcharges you and gets away with it. Not anymore.
He was joined on Thursday by executives from private sector companies that offer all-in pricing or have agreed to in the coming months. Companies including Live Nation and its Ticketmaster platform, as well as SeatGeek, Airbnb, and some event venues that have committed to eliminating hidden fees. Live Nation came under fire earlier this year for the botched handling of Taylor Swift concert tickets and for including surprise fees. It's now committing to upfront pricing at its venues and through Ticketmaster, making the total cost visible from the start.
This is a win for consumers in my view, and proof that our crackdown on junk fees has real momentum.
Live Nation hosts more than 30 million fans at hundreds of U.S. venues and festivals every year. With inflation continuing to plague American families, the White House says ending the unwelcome surprise of hidden fees is a step toward helping consumers manage their money. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
President Biden has also called for legislation and regulation to end the practice of undisclosed fees. Chrysler is recalling more than 300,000 Jeep Grand Cherokees because the rear coil springs on some newer models could fall off while the vehicle is being driven. That's not good. That increases the risk of a crash. The recall covers 2022 and 2023 Grand Cherokees, as well as 2021 to 2023 Grand Cherokee L vehicles. The company says no injuries have been reported due to the problem as of May 25th. Several brands of frozen strawberries, mixed fruits, and smoothie blends have been linked to an outbreak of hepatitis A, making at least 9 people sick. The products were sold in dozens of states in Walmart, Costco, and H-E-B stores under the brand names Great Value and Raider Farms. Customers are urged to check their freezers and either throw out the products or return them to the store for a refund. A final check of the forecast next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, an interview with the new American Medical Association about issues facing doctors and patients. Then on KOAM News at 6, authorities released the name of the suspect who was killed by an officer yesterday in Dade County, Missouri. Plus, after previously voting to hold off on raises, the Carthage City Council has decided to increase pay for water and electric plant workers. And the Webb City School District announces it's renaming its high school football stadium after legendary coach John Roderick. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Hey, how long does it take you to solve a Rubik's Cube? Well, if you happen to be Max Park, you can do it in record-breaking time. The 21-year-old American solved a 3x3x3 Rubik's Cube in just 3.13 seconds at a weekend event in Long Beach, California. That is according to Guinness World Records. Park's feat breaking the 2018 world record of 3.47 seconds was set by China's Yuxing Du. Max Park also holds the record for solving other Rubik's Cubes, including the 7x7x7. I didn't even know they made those Rubik's Cubes.
It makes my head hurt just thinking about it.
Oh my goodness, but it's solving a 3x3x3 in
3 seconds.
3 seconds.
That's unbelievable.
It is. Weather.
We have some storms to talk about, mainly down in Oklahoma tonight, but then the better chance of storms in our area will be Saturday night into Sunday morning. You'll definitely need to stay tuned to keep up to date on that.
See you right back here at 6. Let's make it a great evening.